Welcome back to another episode of No Shame with Shame, where the takes have no lies, no bias, but most importantly, no shame. Jumping straight into it today, Spurs stealing game one in Oklahoma City, 122 to 115. Masterclass performance by Victor Wembanyama. Bro, 41 points, 24 rebounds, 3 blocks, shooting almost 50% from the field, almost 50% from the field, and 48 minutes played. Dylan Harper going off today as well. 24 points, 11 rebounds, 7 steals, 6 assists. Bro, the Spurs just played all around complete basketball tonight. You got to see a lot of great things from a lot of different guys. The Spurs, the young guys cooking. Dylan Harper cooked. Keldon Johnson, sixth man of the year, cooked. Like, you got to get Stephon Castle holding his own. But bro, you just cannot beat this performance by Victor Wembanyama, bro. Like, just such a world-class, generational, like never before seen talent that we are seeing unfold in the playoffs. Super ahead of schedule, by the way, in just his second year. He already looks like arguably the best player in the entire NBA. Bro, honestly, in this game one win by the Spurs, Wemby showed that he's the real MVP. He's the real MVP. Like, he flat out outplayed Shea. Like, Shea, like, he was, like, honestly, he was more dominant offensively, bro. Second Spur with 40-plus points and 20-plus rebounds. Only player aside from Wilt Chamberlain to put up 40 and 20 in their conference finals debut. Like, bro, Chet had no answer for him. Hardenstein had no answer for him. Like, the Spurs had an answer for Shea, meanwhile. The Spurs had an answer for Shea. Dylan Harper had an answer for Shea. Like, Wemby just flat out outplayed Shea. Flat out outplayed Shea. Wemby looked like the real MVP in this game one matchup. He looked like the real MVP. He was more dominant. He was just more impactful on the overall game. He elevated in the playoffs on this stage while it looked like Shea shrunk, at least to start out the game for that first half, for a good chunk, for a majority of this game. Like, Wemby was way more impactful in this game than Shea was. He just flat out outplayed Shea. He was way more dominant than Shea. Wemby looked like the real MVP in this matchup. He looked like the real MVP. Like, honestly, and it honestly reminds me that, like, during the regular season, like, Shea, of course, winning MVP, was awarded MVP prior at the beginning of game one, but was given the notice that he was going to win MVP this week. Of course, that news breaking. Shea did not deserve MVP. He just did. Game one proved it. Game one between the Spurs and the Thunder proved it. But, like, bro, we already knew Shea did not deserve MVP. Like, Shea was the best player on the best team, but he was not the most valuable player on his team when looking at other superstars, especially those that were in the running. Like, Shea was not more valuable to the Thunder than Jokic was to the Nuggets, averaging a triple-double, dragging his team to the playoffs. Shea was not more valuable to the Thunder than Wemby was to the Spurs. A 25-point double-double, averaging 3 blocks per game, the offensive anchor and the defensive anchor for his team, obviously being the reigning defensive player of the year. And then, like, honestly, Shea wasn't more valuable to the Thunder than Luka was to the Lakers. Like, leading the league in points per game with 33, finishing top 10 in steals this year, elevating his defensive game, his defensive prowess. Really the main reason why the Lakers were even in the playoffs this year to begin with. Like, Shea was not the most valuable player on the squad. Like, if you look at all these respective teams without their best player, like the Nuggets without Jokic are not making the playoffs. They're missing the playoffs easily. The Spurs without Wemby could still be a borderline play-in team. They're talented, but they're also super young. Wemby is just such a freakish athlete and just a never before seen generational talent that he makes up for that. But the Spurs are a borderline play-in team, not one of the best teams in the West by any means. And the Lakers without Luka, they're a 30-win team, if that. Like they're struggling for 30 wins without Luka. The Thunder without Shea are a top 3 team in the West still. The Thunder without Shea at the least are a top 3 team in the West. Shea was not, like, bro, the Thunder without Shea, still better than the Lakers, still better than the Rockets, still better than the Timberwolves, still better than the Clippers, the Suns, the Warriors, the Thunder without Shea are still a top 3 team. Like, Shea was not the most valuable player in the league this year. He was the best player on the best team, but not the most valuable. Like, bro, Shea was not the best. Like, Shea was the best player on the best team, but he was not the most valuable player. I know that because if you take Shea off the Thunder are still a top 3 team in the West. Just like I said before, the Thunder are still a top 3 team in the West without Shea. You take Shea off that squad, that starting lineup, you now have Jared McCain starting at the 1. You got J-Dub at the 2. You got Lou Dort at the 3. You got Chet and Hardenstein at the 4 and 5, respectively. Then on the bench, you got Caruso coming off the bench. You got Isaiah Joe coming off the bench. You got Cason Wallace coming off the bench. You still got AJ Mitchell coming off the bench. You still got the other J-Dub coming off the bench. If you want to, you can switch it and have Hardenstein come off the bench so you have some more size to come off the bench and start maybe Isaiah Joe, play small ball to start out the game with Chet at the 5. Like, bro, this is still a 10. It's still a 10 deep squad without Shea. Like the Thunder could still roll with a 10 deep rotation, a 10 man deep rotation without Shea. Like this team can, without Shea, this team can still score, still having 3 20 to 30 point scorers in J-Dub, Chet, and Jared McCain. They have a clutch of streak shooters who can go off for 20 to 30 points. Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace, Alex Caruso had 31 in game 1 tonight. And then without Shea, it's still a team that can play defense as well. Lou Dort, who was a defensive player of the year candidate last year. You have J-Dub, who is a good perimeter defender. And without Shea, this team is still a good rebounding team. It's a team with size. Chet and Hardenstein. Like, without Shea, the Thunder are still a top 3 team in the West. Which means Shea isn't the most valuable player in the league. You can't be the most valuable player in the league if your team is still an elite team without you. You just can't. That's not how that works. So Shea was not the most valuable player in the league this year. He was just the best player on the best team. But he wasn't the most valuable player. He just wasn't. Like, honestly, if the Spurs somehow, with how they played tonight, how they looked in game 1, the Spurs winning this series is a very real possibility. Like the Spurs stealing game 1 in OKC. It's a very real possibility that the Spurs could win this series and get to the finals for the first time in about 10 years, in about a decade. Since that Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, prime Greg Popovich team. Like the Spurs stealing game 1 in OKC against the supposed best team in the NBA is a very real possibility, especially when you consider the fact that the Spurs have presented more issues for this Thunder team throughout the regular season than any other team in the league. These two teams have played against each other 4 times in the regular season. Spurs won 3 of them. I believe they won all 3 of those games, if not 2 of those games, by double-digit figures. So not only did they beat the Thunder, but they have experience handling the Thunder. So with what we saw from the Spurs in game 1 tonight, the Spurs have a very real chance of winning this series and making it to the finals, for sure. But if that happens, like if the Spurs do end up beating the Thunder in this series and getting to the finals, Shea is a phony MVP. Like Shea is a phony MVP if the Spurs end up winning this series off of game 1. Like, now looking at Shea, bro, don't get me wrong, super efficient player, one of the most efficient players of all time, being one of the only players in NBA history to average near 30 points per game while shooting over 55% from the field. But you can't be an MVP on the best team in the league and lose to a guy who was an MVP candidate on a slightly worse team. Like, you just can't. Like, you can't lose to another MVP candidate on a worse team. Like, even though these teams match up well, the Thunder honestly have no reason to lose this series. These teams match up very well, but the Thunder has no reason to lose this series because regular season is one thing. Spurs winning 3 out of the 4 games in the regular season is one thing, but the playoffs is different. Thunder has no reason to lose. Like the Spurs are younger and far less experienced in the playoffs than the Thunder, who are the champs. The Spurs have a less proven head coach in Mitch Johnson, who is in his almost just about second year, barely second year as a head coach, while Mark Dagnall is obviously more proven. He's a champion going into, or is in his 5th year as a head coach. Like, The Spurs are talented, but OKC is more talented. The Spurs are deep with guys like Devin Vassell, De'Aaron Fox when he gets back, Dylan Harper, obviously, Stephon Castle. You got Keldon Johnson, 6th man of the year, coming off the bench. Carter Bryant coming off the bench. But the Thunder are more deep. The Thunder have more depth than the Spurs, obviously having a 10 to an 11-man deep rotation. So, honestly, the Thunder have no reason to lose this series to the Spurs. If the Spurs somehow beat the Thunder in this series, Shea is a phony MVP. He's a phony MVP. An MVP is not supposed, an MVP, especially on the best team in the NBA, is not supposed to lose to another MVP candidate on a slightly worse team and still be a legitimate MVP. Still be legit. If the Thunder lose this series, Shea's a phony MVP. He's a phony MVP. But honestly, looking at another guy who shined in this game one, Dylan Harper. Bro, if Dylan Harper really proved anything in game one, it's that he honestly has a case to be a top 5 player in the playoffs right now. Like being a top 5 player out of the guys that are left in the postseason right now. Like looking at Dylan Harper, like bro, 24 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, and 7 steals, setting which is a franchise record in steals for the Spurs. Like honestly, and in this game, Dylan Harper joins Magic as the only other players to put up 20 plus points, 10 plus rebounds, 5 plus assists, 5 plus steals in a single playoff game. That's a point guard putting up numbers like that. Like, bro, and you look at the last 10 games, Dylan Harper's been hooping. Like the last 10 games, Dylan Harper is averaging 15 points per game. He has 3 games with over 24 points, 24 or more points, and 3 of those, and he has 3 double-doubles. The last 10 games, 3 points with 24 or more points, and 3 double-doubles. Like, bro, Dylan Harper honestly has a chance. Honestly has a case for being a top 5 player that is still left in the playoffs. Like, honestly, looking at that top 5, you obviously got to put Wemby at 1. I think I got to put Shea at 2. I got Brunson at 3. You got to put D. Mitch in at that top 4. And honestly, I think for that 5th spot, it's between Dylan Harper and OG Anunoby. It's between Dylan Harper and OG Anunoby. Dylan Harper is making a case for himself to be a top 5 player that is still left in the playoffs. He's making a case for himself, honestly. And honestly, bro, I don't see with how good Dylan Harper looked in game one, has looked in the playoffs so far. I wouldn't be surprised if the Spurs move away from De'Aaron Fox sooner rather than later to sort of let Dylan Harper just sort of grow into that starting spot. He's obviously got more upside than De'Aaron Fox, being younger, being more talented, having a little bit more of a frame on him, being a better defender than De'Aaron Fox. I think athleticism is on par, but like just more upside than De'Aaron Fox. I wouldn't be surprised with how good Dylan Harper has looked, in moments during the regular season and in this postseason specifically. I wouldn't be surprised if the Spurs end up dealing De'Aaron Fox to allow Dylan Harper to get more minutes to really grow into that starting role, and then just bring in other assets that can help the Spurs in different areas, whether that's draft capital or closer to like maybe win now pieces. But bro, Dylan Harper, bro, if you weren't sold on Dylan Harper before, you should be now. You definitely should be now. But switching over to the NFL, we got news in the NFL. Breaking news as of today, Aaron Rodgers is back with the Pittsburg Steelers. The news was announced earlier this week. He was back at OTAs today. So he's not only back, but he is back in an immediate fashion, trying to get a jump start. I guess fired up from last year's playoff run, trying to get a jump start in the first year, in the first year without Mike Tomlin, sort of a new era for Pittsburgh Steelers football. Honestly, bro, I've said this before, but like Aaron Rodgers re-signing with the Steelers, like the AFC North is honestly the Steelers division to lose. It's the Steelers division to lose. And keep in mind, I know this is a super competitive division. Like you got the Browns who have an elite defense. We know how elite Myles Garrett in that defense is. The offense looks good on paper. Word around town, Deshaun Watson's looking good in OTAs right now. You got the Ravens, super talented roster. They bolstered up that receiver room in the draft this year with Elijah Surratt and Jacoby Lane. The defense looks good on paper right now, especially bringing in Trey Hendrickson, one of the best overall pass rushers in the NFL right now. The Bengals, we know how dynamic that passing game can be, and they revamped their defense this year, but we know what the Steelers were. We know what the Steelers just won the division last year. This is a talented division, but the Steelers, we just watched the Steelers win the division last year. It shouldn't be a shocker that this is the Steelers' division to lose. As talented as all of the teams are in this division, the Steelers won the division last year and are going into 2026 better than they were last year. So it shouldn't be a shocker that the AFC North, until proven otherwise, is the Steelers' division to lose. As of right now, that shouldn't be a shocker. Honestly, the Steelers have as balanced of a roster as any other team in the AFC North. As balanced of a roster as any other team in the AFC North. You look at the quarterback position in the playoffs, I'm taking Aaron Rodgers before I take Lamar Jackson and any other quarterback that ends up starting for the Browns. We know how Lamar Jackson folds in the playoffs. Honestly, looking at receivers, I'm taking DK and Michael Pittman over Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman and over Casey Concepcion and Jerry Jeudy. You look at running backs, I'm taking Rico and Jalen Warren over Chase Brown and Samaje Perine for the Bengals and over Quinshon Judkins for the Browns. You look at the defense, the Steelers' defense is on par with the Ravens' defense and the Browns' defense. They have a top 3 overall defensive player in TJ Watt, therefore giving them a top 2 pass rush overall in the division for sure. They have a top 2 secondary in the division right now with Jamel Dean coming over, Jaquan Brisker coming over, Joey Porter Jr. staying in the secondary, Jalen Ramsey staying in the secondary. This Steelers team as a whole, this roster is just as complete, if not arguably more complete, in comparison to any other roster in that AFC North division. Right now, the AFC North is the Steelers to lose. It's the Steelers to lose. It honestly shouldn't be a shocker that the AFC North is the Steelers division to lose, considering the fact that they won last year. They just won the division last year and are going into 2026 a better team than they were last year. And don't get me wrong, this AFC North division is close. It's super competitive. Every team in this division is very, very talented. But we saw the Steelers win the division. We've seen it. We know the Steelers are capable of winning the division. You look at the Ravens, sure, the defense looks good on paper, but Lamar folds in the playoffs. It's not crazy to think the Steelers can beat out the Ravens for the division. You look at the Browns, we know what the defense is, but we don't know for sure what the offense is going to look like this year, considering that quarterback position situation. Not crazy to think the Steelers can beat out the Browns for the division. You look at the Bengals. Yeah, the Bengals have one of the best passing games in the league, but right now for that team, that's the only thing that's proven about them. They have no offensive line, which means Joe Burrow is likely going to get beat up again. And with how bad the defense has been in past years leading up to this year, even though the defense looks revamped on paper going into 2026, we don't know for sure it's going to be a complete 180 for this defense going into this year, given how bad they've been in the past. We know what the Steelers look like. We know who the Steelers are. The Steelers are the reigning AFC North champs. The reigning AFC North champs that are better now going into 2026 than they were last year. Aside from the head coaching position. So it shouldn't be a shocker that the AFC North is the Steelers division to lose. It shouldn't be a shocker. But honestly, something else to look at too, Aaron Rodgers re-signing with the Steelers, it not only makes the Steelers more dangerous immediately, but it also makes them more dangerous for the future. Aaron Rodgers' presence on the Steelers, you see that him making an impact for the future of the Steelers just by how his presence could potentially create a really good quarterback position for this team moving forward. Like Aaron Rodgers being in Pittsburgh, it gives Drew Aller and Will Campbell a year to sit behind Aaron Rodgers and learn from him. Like Drew Aller has a year to learn behind Aaron Rodgers. You give Will Campbell another year to sit and learn behind Aaron Rodgers. Like honestly, this quarterback position, like Drew Aller and Will Campbell getting to sit and learn, getting to sit behind and learn from Aaron Rodgers, it reminds me of Aaron Rodgers getting to sit behind Brett Favre. It reminds me of Jordan Love getting to sit behind Aaron Rodgers. Like it reminds me of Patrick Mahomes getting to sit behind Alex Smith. It reminds me of Jalen Hurts getting to sit behind Carson Wentz. It reminds me of Brock Purdy getting to sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo. It reminds me of Tom Brady getting to sit behind Drew Bledsoe. Like, bro, Aaron Rodgers' presence on the Steelers this year not only makes the Steelers more dangerous immediately, like to start the season, but it also makes the Steelers more dangerous for the future because of the knowledge and experience that Drew Aller and Will Campbell will be able to gain from playing behind Aaron Rodgers. Like the knowledge and the tidbits and the habits that they'll be able to pick up playing behind a guy and sharing a quarterback room with a guy like Aaron Rodgers, a future Hall of Famer. One of the greatest quarterbacks, one of the most talented quarterbacks, one of the most effective quarterbacks, one of the most efficient quarterbacks, one of the most effective quarterbacks to ever play the game of football. But that's all we got for today's edition of No Shame with Shane. If you haven't already, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media platforms. And I'll be back later on with more shameless takes.